Hello, sir. Hello, classmate. Good day. I am Azia Babaliad. Now I'm going to report the chapter 5, which is the challenges towards patriotism and nationalism. So, when we say patriotism, it is about the love of the countries, and while the nationalism, it is the act for the country. Example of that is Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal is known for his love for his country, and he is known for his novels, poet, and everything that he have been contributed to the Philippines. And because of the patriotism heart of Jose Rizal, the Filipino have been seen uh, the uh, the power or the strength of Filipino, that they will not be the slave of these Spanish. And while nationalism, it is example for this is the act of our heroes, which is they ready to die for their country. Example of this is General Luna. uh, American offer them a peace, but General Luna doesn't want to be a slave again to a foreign country. So he fight, and because of that spirit of courage he have, uh, he doesn't die. He did not die in the hands or in the guns of the American, but he died in the hands of us, fellow Filipino, because because our true enemy is not the foreign, but it is us, ourselves, among ourselves. It is a wolf. It is like a wolf that hidden in our life, in ourself. It is triggered by our behavior, or if it doesn't like the behavior of the person, we became the prey of that wolf inside of us. So that's what happened to General Luna. But furthermore, Henry Luna is one of the best known nationalism for me. Going back to the topic for today. Today, this is our objectives. So our objectives for today. Objectives. To identify the improvements needed in ROTC, to understand globalization, to understand culture and languages, and to promote ethnicity and religion. First, we have the needs in ROTC. Uh, Teaching the ROTC to the youth is important because it aims to develop their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. It aims to include in the youth the values of patriotism and nationalism, and initiate their involvements in public and civic affairs. So, just like what happened in the other countries, like the country of Russia, and example of that is China. China, they have this uh, they have this uh, they have this communist party, something like that, and then they implement more about their soldiers, so the youth of their country trained to be prepared in war. So uh, this ROTC for this country, for the Filipino, it is a very good for me. It is a very good uh, strategy, or a very good way to train the youth to be disciplined, to have an intellectual, to be logical in a manner, and in the and theoretical problems, something like that. So because ROTC is a very important and a critical discipline for the children, for the youth Filipino, because this can be help. This can be a way of help to us, a youth Filipino, to have more mannerism about our society, about our fellow Filipino. So the virtue of this is RA 9163. It is which made in all optional course prove that ineffectiveness in terms of implementation. Let us try to understand why how the very important key to establishing our defenses system, which is to the future survival of this future Filipino has been significantly weakened. Did the propaganda machine uh, of the left groups successfully weaken the defense policy of the country, or was there or part of the government strengthen the mechanism? So this is about ROTC is to way of discipline the youth, and so that the youth, because we youth are prone to any words, any words that can affects our mental thinking, like the communist. If if the other party will say the government is not good, and then you believe in it. So in the way of RTC is a very important propaganda, because this RTC is a way to have a knowledge about the government, or what is the benefit if you are into government. First, armed forces created a bad image during the martial law era, an image they are still trying to recover. And from this martial law, which is mandated by Ferdinand Marcos, President Ferdinand Marcos. Uh, because of martial law, some others say that the military is the bad image during that time, during that year, because they say that martial law killed many people. But isn't that the way of martial law? Martial law is to put the people, citizen of the government, secure against the other group of individuals that wanted to destroy the government. So because of this implementation of martial law, the image of ROTC is affected, because some of other families of their youth, they doesn't want this ROTC to be implemented, and other part of the government doesn't want they to implement this ROTC, because it is preparing for something, what, for war, something like that. They say that we are not in the war again, but soon enough, if the overpowered country will establish a propaganda to uh, to destroy, or to to widen their territory, there will be war if that will be implemented, or that will be the thinking of the superpower countries. For example of that is China. China China pumunta sa territory ng Pilipinas. So because of that, they uh, they have one of our island in the I don't know what specific it was, but they have one of our island, because they said that someone's sold that to them, but and some told that the island is really belong to them because it's part of the China Sea. But the fact is that we Filipino won uh, about the that island. It is our sovereignty, but because they are powerful country, we have doesn't have enough courage, or doesn't have enough technology to move them out. And that's because they and because their youth are overtrained, and they have a large groups of armies. So that will not be implemented. That will not be the way to say that, oh, get out of this island because it is our sovereignty. But we cannot do that because we are lack. It doesn't mean that we are lack of courage or power, but we are really lack of supplies and technologies to move them out, to put fear to their country, something like that. Martial law imposed by former President Ferdinand Marcos. The author got the chance to interview former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile in the house in the Mosreñas village. So that is the history about the martial law. And also, it really impact the ROTC during that era. According to Enrile, anarchy was prevalent in the country during that time. The communist groups were trying to take over the country, and the only way to stop them was to impose martial law. So what I've said earlier, the implementation of martial law is against for the anarchy, or those people who doesn't follow the rule of the government. If we people doesn't follow the basic rule of the government, how can we follow uh, the how can we follow uh, the common law of the government, which is to follow the government institution, because the government is the way to help people to have freedom. But for me, freedom is not just to do everything that you wanted in your life or the desires of your heart to it, because we have laws, we have special laws, uh, we have so much laws in our government to be followed. The government was given more power to impose martial law. Uh, During this era, or even now in this era, the government has really have the power, or the president have the power to implement martial law. But just like what happened in the Marawi, President Duterte implemented martial law against the ISIS of the Marawi, and because of that martial law, it impact again the benefits of the martial law against the terrorist group. So now, now, the Marawi is again a city of the Filipino, a free Filipino. Going back to ROTC, while it is true that stricter discipline should be applied in military in dealing with the youth, there should be excuse me, there should be a balance. The problem with the ROTC is that the personnel handling the program are not able to internalize its very concept. So, so they said here that being in RTC, or being a commandant of RTC, you must be prepared. You must have the will or courage to implement such rules. But implementing rules should be followed accordingly, not just giving punishment to personnel, to a staff, or to a youth without a basis how or why should he be punished, something like that. So so if you are a leader of the of a group, particular group, or in RTC, you will need a solution, or how you manage a situation, and you must be the image, a good image for the youth. The rigid training design featuring classes in a training camp cannot be applied to the students attending formation in RTC. Moreover, shooting, uttering bad words, resorting to humiliation, giving inappropriate orders, and hazing should not be applied. So this is what needed in RTC. Hazing is not a way to make someone get stronger. No, hazing is making someone getting worse. Okay, so hazing is not a solution to the problem. Hazing is not putting you strength to a particular situation. No, hazing is not a way to interpret or to become a real soldier. If you want to become a real soldier, you must start with yourself. Start with your heart, something like that. So bad words, well, sa their RTC, you really need to discipline youth. So the way of to discipline them is you got to be strict. That is literally to be get strict, because if you are not strict person, you are not strict leader, who will follow you? None, because you have a soft heart. So soft heart is good, but not in all the times. If you are a leader, you must recognize you're being a leader, that you have been recognized that you are a leader. Character building can be done through the instruction and demonstration in a logical manner. Punishment is somehow inappropriate, but it should only be for those who violated the protocol and should be properly explained to the person. On the part of the students, love for the country, honor, our virtues should be the motivations to join the program, and not just because it's a requirement to graduate in college. In old days, the ROTC, this later motivation opened up opportunities for the corrupt individuals to take advantage of their position by giving favors in exchange to some benefits. The Palakasan system was born until such time that taking the course was not worthy anymore. The scenario has occurred for several years. Those who have had bad experience with ROTC are now occupying positions in the government and different sectors in society. Mainly, the lack of internalizations of its purpose. It is the primary reason why most of the youth nowadays cannot understand the significant. This is something authorities must work into the future. It is not yet too late to steal the concept of patriotism in the national and nationalisms in the heart of the youth. It is expected that after the initiative, brilliant minds will surface to give the ideas, but the pessimist may still be there preaching it's worthless. The question is, what have we done to contribute to our country? Is our duty to steal the values of patriotism and nationalism in every Filipino, especially the youth? And the better way to do it is to understand their origins and significance. There are several people who are willing to do it, but problems they don't know what are they're dealing. Remember, Lao Tzu said, "The journey in 1,000 miles begins with one step, and that step could come from you." The first steps every significant of our nations and our survival for the future Filipino people. si uh, si Lao Lao Tzu, he is a Chinese philosopher, and he said that the journey of the 1,000 miles begins with one step. So if if the government really implement this ROTC or being a mandatory, so that to take this into college or in senior high, the personnel in charge of this must really to take the courage to put steps to be recognized. It's not just the leader, but a significant leader, the heart of a leader that must to be followed, and to put a good character to the individual. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is the globalization. So here it is. When we say globalization, it is something that the technologies or advancement of technology are being shared to the countries. Example of this is Japan. Now Japan is a very good country. They have really implemented globalization. They have K-pop. They have technologies, robots, and so whatever. So mobile phone or transportation and network. Because of it, the nations have their informations. So globalizations have their informations of the world. So when we say globalization, it is about the information of whole world. So now we look to the present day today in this country of ours. We have technologies, cell phones, computers, laptops, whatsoever. So everything we need, everything technologies that we need in our life, it's become easier because of these technologies and because of the globalization. And because of this globalization, it also has a cons. which is the negative impact of us. It can affect our culture, and how, in what way we forget that we are Filipino. Okay, just like for example, being a Tagalog here in the nations, we are born in this Philippines, so we must be proud to become Filipino, speak Tagalog, Bisaya, and cultural languages. But because of that, because of globalizations and everything we watch online, Facebook, uh, YouTube, I've been realized that the youth become more focused to speak English. But it is good to speak English, but we must not forget what we what the blood we are, the Filipino. The Filipino First policy was introduced by the former President Carlos P. Garcia, that Filipino-owned business would prioritize over their uh, foreign countries. The also encourage Filipino consumers to patronize Philippines product. Many Filipinos are naturally attracted to the foreign products. The fact that we seems to be losing our identity, that was compromised. So what I've said earlier, so because of these foreign products, we have been really greatly affected of this globalization. We forget that we are Filipino, the blood of an eagle and the blood of uh, a lion, brave and smart, something like that. Former son Claro M. Recto, who associated some some of the increasing conclusion of the life of Rizal in College of Curricula. So we must not forget the nationality that we have. We must be more focused about about our heroes, to study the history. The globalization is there, but our history must be persevere, must be uh, because the youth is the generations of this nation. Just like what Rizal said. An interview with former Senate President Enrile, uh, author of this book, discussed the so-called balance of power, which is the vital sustaining a nation's sovereignty. Enrile discussed about the philosophy in explaining how societies evolve. He explained that the beginning, every person needs a weapon to themselves. So because of because of globalizations, we have now access and other military superpower countries. Now we have great weapons, weapons in the sea, weapons in the land, and weapons in the air. So we have so many uh, improvement technologies. Filipinos surrender some of their rights to the government in return for the guarantee protection from the latter. In the international arena, the law that governs a nation is a kind of force. In fact, even the United Nations has no power to implement decisions certain state does not recognize. It is a case of Philippines versus China over the West Philippine Sea, war is an invaluable part of history of humanity over the time. So as what I've said earlier, the China is so powerful nation and powerful country. We don't doesn't have the power to scare them off, to put them out in our sovereignty. Different international organizations such as United Nations were created so that there can be event for international conflict resolutions and alliances. Not if not because of UN or the ASEAN or the United Nations. We already have a World War III, and because of this United Nations, they solve the conflict. Instead, we go to war. We need to solve this conflict, not to put the risks against the life of many uh, people in the world to die because of our unresolved issues. So they resolve it. So now, the West Philippine Sea resolved, but not in the way that they wanted to go out, because it is the sovereignty of the Philippines. They stayed because of territory, because they doesn't have enough territory in uh, their land. It already occupied. Now they want new. Because of that, UN has greatly established a way to resolve that conflict. But we Filipino, we really want them to scare it off. But how can we scare it off if we doesn't have enough technologies and enough power to scare them off out from our sovereignty? As a third world country, we need to secure alliances with the powerful countries so that we can be assured that they will provide us reinforcements in case of an invasion. Remember, our country occupies strategic positions in the region, and the threat of war in the West Philippine Sea in chasing closer, such as what I've said. This is the essence of globalization, to eliminate boundaries that hinder the smooth flow of trade, technologies, ideas, and culture among the some cases. Now let's move to the third topic, which is the culture and language. The Philippines in archipelago hence to have always been fragmented in term local culture and language. There are several ethnic groups in our country. Each them has distinct culture and dialect. So like Ata, Bagubu, something like that. Our ethnicity, culture, language, and even religion sometimes tend to divide us. The challenge is how to put our common goals, aspirations, flag, so that we can achieve national unity. It's like the famous said of one General Luna, where he said, "How can we unite how can we unite if our heart is away from the freedom of the Filipino?" Something like that. He said something that he said na the true way to have peace, or the true way to prove that you love your country, is you need to pay it with blood and sweat. Language is one of the key factors in the unifications of a nations. Let us examine some countries that have utilized language as an instrument for the unification. Just like the K-pop groups in Korea or Japan, or Korea, they really great have the impact of the youth here in the Philippines, because now really adore their skin, really adore their languages. Some of our fellow Filipinos studied their dialect to be there in their country. It's sad to say that we lose our originality as a Filipino because of the globalization and because of the cultural languages. But uh, but for me, uh, we really need to establish cultural languages, history, to be implemented in the youth in learning, because if we really want to put a remembrance of the Filipino heroes who died for this country because of this culture and language, we really need the history about it. Ironically, the United States, despite being a predominantly English-speaking country, has many citizens who can barely speak the language of English. This is because many of them are migrants who are non-native English speakers in the US. The second most commonly used language is Spanish, which is during the Republican selections of the candidates in 2016, wherein they had select the standard barriers. Donald Trump attacked the George Bush for the using Spanish. George Bush in the fluent Spanish, and it made him appealing candidate to the Spanish-speaking populace. In the Philippines, there are several languages used in different ethnic groups. Without the country, former Pres Quezon already saw the problem because when he went to other parts of the country and talked to people, he had a bring interpreter use English language to understand each other. He pondered on the fact that had to use a foreign language to better understand fellow Filipino. In 1936, Commonwealth Act number 184 was passed, which is created national committee and empowered in members in decide on which one of existing dialects will be selected as the official national language. This was strengthened through the creation of the Commissions on the National Language by virtue of RA 7104 in 1936. The committee members were composed of members who were Bacano, Bicolano, Waray, Cebuano, Tagalog, Maranao, Mindanao, Kapampangan, and Pangasinense, under the community chairman who was Hiligay. Today, our national language, which is Filipino, is primarily based on Tagalog, although it can be loosely considered a mixture of different language in Mindanao. This is an emerging language that is called Konyo, which is mix of Tagalog and Bisaya. However, this way of speaking has received criticism, especially from the Tagalog speaking people because of its insistence, structure, and accident manner of delivery. In Mindanao, due to the diversity of ethnic groups and culture, we tend to appreciate the use of national language so that we can better communicate with one another. Bisaya. The mixture of our local dialects and Tagalog and emergence of Konyo language mentioned above. In its respect, the visions of former Pres Quezon has been partially achieved because whatever we wherever we are in the Philippines, we can talk to our fellow Filipinos with the use of national language. We can continue with our preference for the English language as our official language because it is our advantage over other countries in the first place. We can still utilize our auxiliary language or regional dialect to preserve our culture within the region. However, we must also strengthen our national language because it is that represents our national identity as Filipinos. So we must not lose our national identity to speak Bisaya, Tagalog. If they say you're not good at speaking, you're stupid or whatever, don't trust them. Don't say yes, I'm stupid because I don't know speak English. No, you are Filipino. That is your identity. Okay, they cannot change your identity. If they good speak English, then it's good. But be more conscious about the identity of us as a Filipino. We must set aside our culture bias that one group is better than another group because after all we are Filipino who share the same visions under one flag. This is our identity wherever we are in the world. Now let's move on to the fourth topic, which is the ethnicity and religion. Christian, Muslim, and Lumads are words that have somehow divided us historically because of the sense of ideology. When we say ideology, it is something that in you, your own principle, ideology, something like that. That has the private our psyche. Christians represents the majority of Filipinos. There are many Christians here in Mindanao and also in the Philippines. However, they've been subject to attacks, especially the Catholic Church. In history, Catholicism was introduced by Spaniards through force. Ironically, most of our heroes who fought for the freedom were devout Catholics. Even Jose Rizal kept his faith until his death. For many decades, radical Muslim have called for their separations from the Philippines because they didn't wish to be integrated with other religions like Christianity. Lumads or indigenous people or the IP are being exploited by some progressive groups, indoctrinating them with ideas of corruption and rich. The rich people are out there to grab their lands and government is not doing anything to prevent it. The above mentioned scenario it is a very long story that may still require several generations of conflict. Rob a CIC people of their identity and they become passive, lost and indolent, uncreative and product prone to depression and substance abuse and plagued by pervasive feelings of malaise and powerlessness. To suppress the weakened, this identity and success impose an alien culture on the Philippines to reduce them into a passive, docile mass subservient to the power wielders of the alien culture. Originally native intelligence and skills, a treasure trove of knowledge accumulated with wisdom and creativity. Ethnicity is necessary to achieve nationalism, yet nationalism and patriotism cannot be attained if just one ethnic group is dominating. This can be obtained when different tribes come together in harmony to make initiatives work for the betterment for one nation. Mm-mm. This is historically supported and is best discussed by Prof. Samuel K. Tan in Unity in Diversity and Diversity. In Unity, the affirming Filipinos experience the process of diversity as it is common denominator. Filipino nationhood must understood the context of Filipino matrix, and this requires a better understanding of the concept of nationalism and patriotism. It requires an exploration of the Makabayan framework, one that enriches a Filipino understanding of what impacts and rules it holds, protects, serving, and conjuring values formation future generations, and through the meaningful transformative interaction. Where we admit or not, our country is run by elite families, bureaucrats, and powerful clans. They were able to equip themselves with powerful and wealth, have passions, children replace the next generation to come. Whatever versions of history, culture, and event literature that favors them, they will grab it and distort it, discarding others as they create half-truths that serve their purpose. Unfortunately, as ordinary masses would almost and always agree with the support them because they are looked upon as leaders. These masses group up to blind the truth because of their limited knowledge of the systems and heavily influenced understanding of the true meaning of democracy, the power of the government. Generally, Filipinos are peace-loving citizens. This come a long time ago. We are really loving Filipinos, Filipinos of kind heart. Though we may have been given our name by the Spaniards, our culture and values exist before they came truly. Unfortunately, we do not have the written records of our pre-colonial history. As a peace-loving people, we are very hospitable, especially to our visitors, and we are known for this trait throughout the world. We always give our visitors in the very best accommodation that we can offer for them. This hospitality may have attract Arab traders to our country because of trade. The Filipino is known for this island route to trade to another way in the nations, something like that. The resistance of Lapu-Lapu was not because he did not want the religion nor foreign invasion, but because of their rivalry with Raja Humabon. Raja Humabon already accepted Magellan and his troops, and they were even baptized as Christian, making them the first Catholics in the country. If we analyze our history, the real source of conflict is greed, just like what happened in the history in General Luna. A few individuals have exploited religion and ethnicity to show conflict and to serve their personal interests. The problem with us is that we merely accept ideas offered to us and not to question them, especially if they come from disrespected person or a good preacher. So that's our summon for our topic for today. Thank you for listening and have a great day.